勝手に
This is such an explosive review that Megumin subscribed. So me and Pushita are just returning back from having watched of course Reze the movie, guys, and yes, obviously I suited up, had Pushita with me, smash that like button, guys, if you also had a suit on you, of course watching the movie, right? It's like the easiest cosplay ever, man. It's the proper business suit, right? And of course having your own Pushita with you. But anyway, this movie was fantastic. I said immediately, this is like the best movie it is here, right? This is the best movie. And I'm sure we're trying to require whatever, right? But I think this is straight up genuinely the best movie I've seen this year, easily. I did of course also love Demon Slayer, and I'm gonna explain why I think this movie is better, but a very brief way to explain it is that while Demon Slayer looks better, and from a standpoint, Demon Slayer is the best movie I think, but Demon Slayer of course has a massive issue, right? With being a part 1 or a part 1, 2, 3. This, even though Chainsaw Man here, right, is a following of season 1 and it's coming into like season 2, I guess it would be in the TV show, right? This still feels quite condensed, okay? I think a very important point on this movie, and really why the Reze movie is the best movie this year, and I mean that really, why this movie is so good from a general standpoint as an anime, is that it really works as a self-contained storyline, okay? Of course, you need to know the characters beforehand, right? But the whole storyline about Reze starts and ends in this movie, right? Now, I am Miami only, so maybe she returns or whatever, maybe it happens, whatever. But I think you have a point, right? It's like she's introduced, and most of her storyline and her backstory and so forth is explained, and, you know, basically mostly over else taken care of, right? So it feels like a really good movie. Where I think there's some other anime movies, and I guess then in context here, the closest one, Demon Slayer's movie, that one is completely just like, oh, it's like a bunch of fights. It's really good. I mean, I love the movie too. But, you know, it's completely not self-contained, right? It's like the middle of this huge arc, and it's like watch part 2, right? So this movie here felt a lot more like an actual movie, where we have all this new stuff and then it ends, right? So, like, this could have been the last episode of the anime as well. Like, seriously, right? So that's the first thing that I want to say, that it feels very, very self-contained, and I really like that. I really appreciate that, and it means that overall, right, the pacing was just spot on, right? The pacing felt perfect. It felt like I got enough introduction of her, felt like I got enough storyline with all the characters, and, you know, it all got wrapped up, so to speak, right, in this time, right? I think the movie could have been slightly longer, perhaps. I wouldn't have hurt, but it would have hurt if the movie was like an hour longer, right? This was a good, really good, like, timed out movie there, in like 1 hour 40 minutes. So that was also really, really well. Absolutely. So that's one thing I think is very important to understand right away. It's very much worth your watch. You don't feel like you have to see more of this anime. And that sounds stupid, but I mean, you know, in some movies, right, you have to kind of feel, yeah, this is like a part 1 or whatever, or yeah, there's so many loose threads or whatever. And obviously the general storyline about the gun devil and stuff like that is not concluded in this movie. But you know what I mean? It's like, this feels like, again, a one arc, and then it's so it feels really well, and I can sit there and wait, hopefully, for a season 2, right? Or, you know, like another movie, I suppose. Now, I'm going to review it, guys. Talk about all the characters, all the scenes, of course, and I will keep the spoilers at a minimum, and then we'll do like a spoiler story bit later. Let's talk about some of the major plot points and characters, and then we'll go into, you know, the juicy bits. Now, the biggest issue of the movie is that Power has like no screen time, okay? So minor spoilers, I know, whatever. I have to just say it, guys. Big MAKIMA, man. So this is from the opening of the movie, right? So the movie starts with playing the music trailer, Eyes Out. You can find it on YouTube, or something, right? And you see Power. Now she has like 4 horns and stuff, right? This is basically the only thing you see with Power. She has 2 more scenes. I'll talk about that in the spoiler part. And she has a really good thing wrong. A Power scene is arguably the best in the whole movie. Maybe I'm biased. As a Power fan, right? It felt a little bit like, oh, she's really isn't in the movie at all. Like, she has like one, Makima is like, oh, I have to, like, you know, take care of Power's 4 horns here, and she basically doesn't appear in the movie again. You're like, yeah, that's interesting. It did remind me of Demon Slayer in that sense, where Demon Slayer also has a similar issue where obviously some characters fights, right, and a bunch of other characters just has no whatsoever. And they probably have an hour fight in the next part, right? But this felt kind of similar. We're like, oh yeah, like, bunch of character. Kobeni, she has like I mean, Kobeni was great also, but so, I mean, obviously I like Chainsaw Man a lot. I like the characters, and I feel a lot of characters, Kobeni and Power, especially those two girls, they have very short screen time, but they're very funny, kind of comedic screen time. So I just like it though. And in that sense, it's gonna work though, because he's had like the best moments, right? It was like the funniest bit, Kobeni bit kind of thing, and that's just kind of so it's a little bit in that sense, but still it's a little bit like, yeah, some characters were kinda ignored though. Now the movie starts with basically Denji and Makima going on this long date, and without really going into any spoilers, I am a little surprised how this just didn't lead to anything. I'm just gonna say, yeah, I would say this thing actually, like, my most critical point of the movie is this date part. So they basically watch like 10 movies, right? And both of them hate all the movies until the final movie when Makima is crying, and then they also find it sad, and then he's like, yeah, she's like my girl, because, you know, we both have the same taste in movies, I guess. And Makima explains she's like fine with every movie sucking, because she only likes like 1 out of 10 movies anyway, and then let's change her life or whatever. So it had a purpose in that sense, but it didn't have any actual purpose in the storyline of the movie. So I mean, in that way, yeah, it was like, yeah, okay, but what did it lead to later? Like, absolutely nothing. I guess you could argue, because the main intrigue, is why I bring it up, guys. The main intrigue of the movie, right, is that, of course, Reze is this new girl that Denji meets, right, just after this date, of course, and he's then like, oh god, this is like the ultimate girl. She's so funny, she's likable, she's very etchy, oh, she wants me, right? And he falls for her, but he's also in love with Makima, so no, right? He's had his date, and half the movie is kind of like Denji, you know, arguing with himself, who should I date? Who should I kiss or whatever, right? And he's trying to like resist Reze coming on to him. She's trying to like flirt with him, she's showing her titties to him, and he's like, no, I don't want to, but I can't argue, you know. He's trying to like, you know, like deflect from her, right? Because he's so in love with Makima. But at the same time, he keeps failing, right? But he's a horny guy, so he keeps failing. And then he has like, you know, guilt feelings, whatever, right? What he's doing with Reze, and back and forth. So in that sense, this date has a lot of purpose, because it sets up that, yeah, he's in love with this woman, right? He comes his other chick, and so forth. But what I will say in this movie a little bit, what I missed is a little bit like, why does Makima do stuff? Unless, of course, you want to manipulate him. That's kind of the general feeling, right? Of course, I want to see the anime coming from being like, I guess Makima is just generally just trying to seduce, manipulate Denji. The date ends with her, like, pushing her head against his chest, being like, oh, you do have a heart, I can hear it. Oh, it's my heart, you know. He's like, oh, Makima! So there's a lot part of the movie, right, you know. Yeah, it's always right. The whole movie is Denji being abused by women. No, but seriously, and I found it interesting, because yesterday, of course, I made this video about this author, say this is an INCEL movie, right? It's below, of course. You've probably seen it. I think it was a very interesting article, to say the least. But in this sense, it's basically the opposite, right? You know, Denji keeps being abused. He's not like, you know, I always say that Denji is like the reverse INCEL, right? He's full of gratitude. He likes ladies. He's very nice to them, you know. He's the one being pushed around, right? If anything, he's a simp, right? You know what I mean? He's like Kazuya or Takemichi or whatever, right? If anything, you know what I mean? To a large extent, he's like, oh, yes, I do what I want. Yeah. Half the movie is like Reze and Makima, like, abusing him. Let's be honest here. That's what the movie's about, really, okay? Sorry, I'm screaming, but it's a big part of it. And, you know, I think it really works though, right? I haven't videos about it before, but my guess is that Makima has some kind of like control devil, something like that. Maybe like the claustrophobia devil, to be kind of cool, because she can like squeeze people. So what if she has, because I made a video a few years ago, I watched the anime, and one of the most common fears, right, the actual phobia people has, is of course small spaces, claustrophobia. So a lot of people have that fear, which would make that, you know, that power bigger, right? Because a very, very common fear is like gun fear or whatever, and then also the actual power itself would be very useful. I think that one of the best power otherwise would be like acrophobia, a devil that's the power of, you know, falling down, right? Because I think one of the most common fears, if not number one fear, is that, okay, the biggest fear is social fear. Second biggest fear, I think, currently among humans is the fear of heights, right? So that power would be massive, because there's so many people have it, right? And obviously that basically would be gravity. You basically people fall down, you will push them down, right? So it would be like gravity. That sounds like really powerful, yeah. I think the gravity would probably be the strong. I digress. Nerding out here, guys. It's gonna be a long video. The second part of the movie is basically fighting the bomb, and this is a large part of the movie. It is probably roughly exactly half of the movie. It's a very long fight, and it looks spectacular. It's very explosive. I can hear every girl doing a Megumin behind me, like, explosions, you know. No, but it looks fantastic. It's a very, very beautiful, explosive movie, and it is mostly about the bomb devil. I don't want to try to spoil that, talk about it later, but there are a few other, of course, powers introduced in these fights, right? But the bomb takes most of the screen time, and she has a lot of, how to say it? Well, yeah, like she has different like utility with her bombs, I guess, which kind of makes sense because she's in these like explosions, right? She can do like floating mines or whatever. She can do this thing. She can do some kind of like fuse bombs or whatever. Right? She has a bunch of different kind of like, you know, military bomb stuff. And she's very, very powerful. And one thing I really like with her, we talk about more later, of course, in the full spoiler parts, but she has a similar power to Denji, how she can like pull off her neck. You know, he puts out the chain, right, and he puts out the Pushita, right, and gets this thing, and he puts out the chainsaw, and she can watch as a grenade, right, puts out the pin, and she explodes and turns into a bomb. I like that. That was awesome. That was visually very, very appealing. She was like, boom! Yes, she pulls out her pin. I was like, I love that, man. That was so great, man. That was so awesome. It was very similar to Denji, but it felt even better. She's like, yeah, I'm a grenade, man. And there is one scene when she throws her head at a bunch of special guys, and her head as a bomb, right? She lands like boom, she just explodes her head, and that was great because of course her head is basically a living bomb, right? But yeah, so that was awesome, and then it was a lot of great fights. Now the other character that has a lot of screen time in this movie is Beam. Okay, so Beam is a shark feed, and he's TANJIRO. Okay, he is voiced by TANJIRO's voice actor. I hear that in the first line that he says, right? And obviously, it's him. And I have to say, guys, of course I saw Demon Slayer the movie, but honestly, I'm gonna be honest here, it was kind of annoying because he was like, his character was fine or whatever, right? But he's like, Chainsaw Sama! And every time he screams all the time in the movie, and every time I hear him screaming, I'm just hearing TANJIRO. I'm just like, TANJIRO. I'm just feeling he's like a mixture of Inosuke and TANJIRO. He's like, you know, TANJIRO's voice actor doing an Inosuke, like constantly in the whole movie. He speaks a lot in this movie, and it wasn't like his character was bad, but his voice is just exactly TANJIRO. Like, it was like he's even trying to do another character. He also does Duke in the Death Duke, I think it's called in English, the Budshama. And that voice, right, with that voice is quite different. I mean, it's the same person, obviously, but it's different, right? But here, I felt he's just doing TANJIRO. So, I have to say that. But otherwise, Beam was a great character. And there was one scene where I was sitting there waiting for him to come in and save Danny. I was like, oh, I'm doing it. And he's like, I was like, yes! He's sitting there. I know it's gonna do it. He does not explain why he's really into Denji in this movie. He's a secret, his promise, MAKIMA not to explain it to anyone. But he basically, very early in the movie, he wants to team up with Denji, right? And then he basically swims around. His power's really cool. He's like a land shark, right? So he can like swim in the ground. He's like Senor Pink in One Piece, yeah. So he keeps swimming after Denji all the time, right? And he's kind of keeping like next to him, but not going to say much in the beginning of the movie. And like I said, it's not really explained why doing that, but the movie kind of have two of different pairings. So you have again then Denji and Beam the shark, right? And then you have Aki with the angel, and that's also a big part of the movie. Like I said, Aki has a lot of moments with the angel demon, right? Because people are afraid of angels. I don't know how he actually works, but it's very much like it's hard to explain. Honestly, it is hard to explain a lot because basically the angel wants to die. Like all of their scenes is about the angel being like, I don't want to live, right? All of his scenes is like, just let me die, bro. Let me die, yeah. Oh, I have to work, now I'm ready to die. And he's incredibly lazy. He doesn't want to do anything. And then he's like, well, if you don't work, Mike will kill you. He's like, good, I want it. I want it to delete me. You're like, what? But the thing is that there's a very, very short moment in the movie where we see his memories. And I'm just gonna obviously I guess here then. It's not a spoiler, but I'm just guessing, right? It feels like the angel has accidentally killed a woman he liked something. Because there was like a very brief moment when one person is seen in his flashback when he's about to die. And he's probably in love with this person is dead, right? And it's probably his fault. He's very, very powerful. So I'm gonna guess he accidentally killed the person he loved, right? And then he wants to die out of guilt or something. That would be my guess. Leave comment below if I'm correct in that. Because the movie didn't explain it at all. The movie was just like, yeah, he hates being alive or something. But they have these moments, right? There's like bromance, because the angel is apparently the strongest after Makima. She's like, you have to make him useful because he's incredibly powerful. And it is explained that he makes people into weapons. So the sword he's using is actually made by the angel, or from a human turning into a weapon, kind of thing, kind of like Soul Eater. So it's like, yes, this angel is incredibly important. Like bromance him so he'll be more useful for us, right? But yeah, the angel has some interesting scenes, and that's my theory, that he wants to, he's like guilt, right? I think so. The main girl of the movie, then we go into, of course, the full like story review, and obviously many spoilers there, right? Now, first of all, I will say this thing here, and this will be a non-spoiler, but you still probably figure it out, right? I do think that having seen all the trailers, obviously I have reacted, right, to the music videos and the trailers, etc., right? It seems kind of obvious what's going to happen to her and how it's going to go about. And this other minor character, the voice for this Typhoon, I don't think we got the name that was working for Typhoon. But anyway, Typhoon's sidekick, right? And how that drama, so I go between him and Reze, to me was like uber predictable. And I was listening, I think I probably would have figured it out if I was a manga reader back when this was new. I still think so, right? But having seen the trailers and so on, yeah, it is kind of what, like, okay, so I think that is a little bit how it is, right? I'm not gonna fault the movie for that, but I think it's fair to say that there was some stuff that obviously had been like, they hadn't been spoiled, but it's like, 1 + 1 = 2 kind of thing, right? And obviously it's probably confirming that to some extent I am spoiling, I guess. Sorry for that, but you know what I mean. It's like how I will be honest here, right? It is a little bit like that with Reze though. But I think one issue with the movie actually quite massively, even though I think I probably would expect the thing if I haven't never seen a trailer and I read the manga. Even though Reze is adorable, she's very lovable and so on, right? I think the big issue with her is that I immediately have zero trust with her. I immediately is like, this woman is a monster! I immediately watched the movie like, Bushita, she's trying to kill Denji, right? I was waiting for her to try to like murder Denji in every scene, right? I was waiting in the pool scene. She's probably gonna kill him in the pool, I was just waiting for her to be some kind of monster the whole movie, right? Regardless of what actually happens, I was like, I'm sure she's trying to betray him. Like, it really felt like that whole movie. But I was being honest here. I think I would have acted more or less the same if I was reading the manga for the first time too. Yes, haven't seen the trailers, of course, enforced that in my head even more. But I just feel like this whole story, with Chainsaw Man, everyone is a goddamn monster, everyone is a psychopath, everyone, you know what I mean? So I'm just like, I think she's probably a man-eater or something, literally, So it felt a lot like that. And the thing with Reze is the personal character, she's adorable and lovable, but she's very, very ero, right? As Denji calls her. She's very etchy, she's very sexy, right? She's all like, oh, this is the sign for butt, She's like, can you read this word? Oh, it says big ass. Oh, this is the kanji for like penis, Or balls. But she does that stuff all the time towards Denji, right? And we say in Swedish, we have this word called het på gröten, which means you're thirsty, you're trying too hard, right? So I think with Reze, I don't trust her at all. And I actually, honestly, I don't find her that adorable in some way, because she's trying too hard. She's het på gröten. She's just too much into Denji, right? And Denji himself is like, okay, get away from me, you weird perv, right? She keeps doing this stuff, and she's like, see the sign? Oh, it says penis. Oh, you see the thing? It's a big ass. You want to see my tits? She keeps doing it all the time. I'm like, I was sitting there in the movie theater, being like, yeah, she's trying to kill him, right? Everyone in the whole movie is like, yeah, she definitely is an assassin, or she's a devil, or she's a demon, or she's a sucker boss. Everyone in the whole theater was like, it's a trap. It's a trap, Denji! Pushita was screaming, it's a trap, right? Everyone I feel in the whole theater was like, yeah, she's clearly evil. So it's, I do wonder if it would have been different if you haven't seen all the trailers and so on. But I don't think so. I think she's just, like I said, too much trying, yeah. But if we ignore that then, no, the scenes with her are super cute. Super adorable. Then he eats his flower before he meets her, because he's a weirdo. And then they have this cute moment in a phone booth, and he like pukes out the flower and gives it to her in this really weird way. She's like, "Ow, it's so romantic," and you're like, "Is it really?" No, but it was kind of cute. But even at that moment, you're wondering she's probably lying to him, right? Because that wasn't cute. That was kind of disgusting. But yeah, she's adorable. And she keeps trying basically to be like, "Oh, let's study together. Why don't you sit next to me here? Why don't you do these things for Fortnite?" And she's very, very pushy. And then they have a bunch of dates. And I think what's soon then, the actual spoiler parts, but they have the pool date, they have like a Hanabi, so kind of like, you know, festival, firework date, right? And this is the moment she brings him to this, how I say it? It's a very classic Japanese thing, right? You have a date during some summer festival, and you have these fireworks, Hanabi, and she brings him to, you know, a cliff, right? Like, looking over the city, you know what I mean? And she kisses him, and it's very romantic. So she takes him through those classic, all this, like, you know, romantic date moments, right? And like I mentioned earlier, then the cost has to be like, "But I'm in love with Makima, right?" But this is also kind of nice, right? So he has to kind of go back and forth if he wants her or not. But all of those scenes with her are really great, and it feels really romantic. Now, before we get into the visual bit, though, I just want to really, like I said, like massive plus for the visuals, okay? All of that scenes that I just explained in Chainsaw Man are fantastically beautiful. I mean, incredibly beautiful, okay? Even though, right, it's like that classic Japanese anime date, you know? She invites Denji to, again, a festival, a Hanabi date. It looks beautiful. And this kid, like, holding this, like, candy apple, right? The Hanabi goes up in the sky and explodes, and she's holding this candle, and, like, the light hits the apple, like the candy apple thing, and it reflects, and we see her kissing Denji, and it looks beautiful. The pool scene with their battle together, she's swimming over Denji, you see her tits, whatever, but it looks beautiful, right? And she's moving into school, and she's like going down there, and it turns like red on the light behind her when the guy comes later and so on. And like the whole visual sense of the movie was spectacular, right? And you know the Chessman author, he loves his old school 80s, 90s movies and so forth, right? And you can really feel it, right? So this is one of the big reasons I think it's the best movie this year. Because even though Demon Slayer, tech speaking, is a better looking movie, right? That movie has incredible animations. It's just so good, right? But Reze instead has, I would say, a better movie direction, right? And a better movie feel to it. So when Reze is moving in school, right? She's moving around in the school, and this is before the moment where you feel like something's gonna go bad in the school, right? She's washing her face, and it's like the light turns red behind her, right? And she's walking out of the bathroom, and you see kind of the light aiming right at her. And she's moving her, you see her face a little bit that, right? Those kind of things just felt a lot more like a movie, right? When I watched this movie, I know, but it felt like I'm watching, you know, like a thriller, like a Stephen King movie, you know, like something like, what's called The Shining. It felt like a scene from The Shining. It's like, oh shit, she's losing it, right? And later on, then she's like in this thing with this guy with Typhoon, and she's seeing Russian, and you see the drops falling into her eyes. She's like staring, closing her eyes, and the tear, like the rain, is falling straight into her pupils. She's staring at the water coming into her thing, and it looks really freaky, right? So that's what I think is the best movie, because yes, it has incredible visuals and stuff and animation, but it also felt like it had this amazing direction. We felt like this is an incredible, well-crafted movie, and I think actually the best part of the movie is probably around that. Yeah, the pool scene, into this bat scene, into the roof scene. This is kind of like the climax of her story being revealed or whatever, right? Her personality, and then going into the whatever fights or whatever. And that is probably actually the best part of the movie. The fights are great, sure, obviously, but I think like that is probably the movie where I felt that was the best actually, when she was like on the roof and so on. I was like, oh my god, it looks amazing, it was beautiful. But now let's talk about the spoilers more in detail. Obviously, Reze is like crazy, evil, psychotic, yandere biatch, right? Oh, spoilers. No, but like I mentioned earlier, I think that it's very, very clear, and you have to be kind of blind, right, if you haven't figured out who the bomb girl is. I mean, what can I say, right? I think it's very hard to watch this movie and being like, oh yeah, I wonder who the bomb lady is. Maybe it's that random woman working at the convenience store over there. No, it's like, nah, I think we all figured out. So yeah, obviously, spoilers now that Reze is the bomb girl. Explosions. Megumin doing explosions. I should have my Megumin figure. I have a Megumin figure on the other side of the screen. I have this huge Megumin figure. I love Megumin. It's a great character. Anyway, I digress. Obviously, Reze is the bomb girl, right? And that's probably, I mentioned earlier, the biggest thing that trailer spoiled to me, right? Going into that, obviously, Reze is gonna be the girl going like boom and so forth, right? In the trailers. But the thing is that, like I mentioned earlier, even if you read the manga, right? I think it's kind of obvious because that's just how storylines are, right? You wouldn't be like, who else would be the bomb girl? Who else would be the next character? Now, of course, you wouldn't know that she is necessarily the bomb woman per se. That is revealed after the kiss scene that she has the bomb powers. But like I mentioned earlier, I would absolutely not have trusted this woman, right? And so I think that it's more like I wouldn't have known that she was a bomb woman, right? But I would assume that she is wanting some kind of demonic power without knowing exactly what the power would be if I was a manga reader. That's my guess at least, right? So like I said before, right? I think one of the biggest intrigue in the storyline, after having finished the movie as well, right, is of course if Reze actually loves Denji. And that is how the movie presents it though. So I think the biggest part of that is that in the beginning, she's trying to seduce Denji, right, to kill him, obviously. And then I guess she actually falls in love with him, right? So that's kind of, I would say, the biggest intrigue of the movie. And it's never really confirmed if she does that or not. But I think with the very last scene, time or later, that she does actually love Denji, and it's a very sad ending. But in the beginning of the movie, you have to obviously wonder, like, why I should do this thing for, right? And the biggest climax from a story aspect in the movie is, of course, after she kisses Denji, or kissing the kissing scene, she asks Denji to run away with her, right? And this might be because she wants to, like, take his heart or whatever. But it does feel like she genuinely wants to just actually run away with him, right? And it's in the sense that if he actually had agreed with that, I don't think she would have fight him, right? So he doesn't know the truth, of course, but I do want to guess, especially with the ending of Reze, I do think that it felt like if Reze had gained the acceptance of Denji to actually leave, right, she probably would have recruited him into her side, right, not actually try to kill him. That's what I would guess. That's what I feel the movie wants to believe it is, that she actually did like him back. And but then he reacts her, and then she's like, well, I have to kill you now, right? But he doesn't even react her, so he's kind of sad and that's for Denji's sake. Because he's like, can we still date, but I have to keep my job, right? He's actually, then he gives like a very good, actually, from a general standpoint here, talking about the whole incel stuff, right? Then he gives a really good answer. Then he gives a really good answer, actually, to this whole festival kiss moment with Reze. So Reze, right, like I said, she basically is trying to recruit him to her side, right? Probably. we don't know it probably. She doesn't explain to him, but it's probably happening, right? But then he gives her an answer like, I still want to date you, but I don't want to quit my job because I'm finally getting a promotion. People like me now. My boss likes me. My friends like me. Like, my life is kind of going well right now. So I still want to be your boyfriend, but I don't want to, like, abandon my other stuff, right? So he gives, like, the perfect, anti-simp speak answer, right? Being like, okay, I like you. You like me. Let's date. Let's get married, whatever, right? But I'm not going to abandon my whole life for you. So honestly, that's, I would say, is the best moment for Denji in the movie. That and the final moment at the beach, because again, he's really into, he's getting laid, all the stuff, right? But that moment is a very good, mind thing for Denji to be like, yes, I really, really want to have intercourse with you, you know what I mean? But I'm not going to do it if I have to get fired, yeah. I'm not going to abandon all my friends to get laid. I'm going to still have that stuff, but I also want you, right? So he's doing it like a perfect, like, non-simp answer, being like, no, I want to retain all my whatever stuff, and also I want you. I like you back, so I want you, though. Don't get me wrong, right? So that, I think, like, really great. So she, of course, is evil and doesn't accept that. She's just like, no, you're either mine or no one's. Yeah, she's basically like, no, they have to kill you, right? And I guess from her standpoint, being she works with the, main evil side in the storyline, she's like, well, if you don't join me, completely, right, they have to kill you. So I think it logically makes sense from her standpoint. If she could get Denji to leave and go to another city and hide somewhere with her, right, then she, again, would probably see him as an actual, like, new ally, right? But he doesn't yeah, if he was to date her but not go with her, then she's like, well, you're sitting on the evil side, you know, in her mind, that's the bad guys, right? I have to kill you then. But anyway, let's talk about the pool scene. So I had to be like, no, Pushita, don't look, tease, don't look, Pushita yet. No, this scene was crazy. This scene was super long. If anything, you know, I'm not surprised they're gonna have a little oppa scenes or whatever, right, in the movie. But I am surprised, generally. This scene was like 10 minutes. Jesus Christ, man. This was like a whole episode. It was an anime season, right? This would be like a whole episode. It just kept going. It wasn't just like, oh, we're gonna skinny dip, right? She jumps in the water like, Danny, did you like my tits, right? He's like, yeah. And then, you know, it's the next thing. No. This kept going for like genuinely over 10 minutes. It was so long. And it was a good scene, though. But honestly, I think it almost felt me a little bit uncomfortable because sitting there in the movies, right? There's a bunch of people next to me, and you know, and it's just like, well, this is like, it's not hen, but it feels almost hen now, and it keeps going. It keeps going. It's almost that feeling, you know, when you're watching a movie with your parents, right? And suddenly it's an X scene, right, in the movie. Sitting with your parents, be like, yeah, it's always awkward, you know what I mean? It wasn't exactly like that, but it started to feel like that because it was so long. It just never ended. So first they had this, like, you know, water fight or whatever, right? Then they teach him how to swim, and it's a lot of these moments. And this is scene with Danny started to fat side about Makima. He is like, no, I want Makima instead, but then he takes off his pants anyway. He's like, I'm sorry, Makima, my body I can't control my thing, and he has to jump in the water, and he jumps straight into her face, and she says right at his junk is all. Like I said, it keeps going. Like this thing, it was great. It was well animated. It was weird, and it felt this really weird feeling. But at the same time, you're like, my God, why is it so long for? Because that's the thing, right? If it was like 2-3 minutes, it would have been like, oh, yeah, it's like quirky bat scene with the characters, you know what I mean? Like 5 minutes, oh, it's a romantic scene, maybe so on, right? But now it was like, this is, yeah, you almost feel comfortable now, yeah. This is feel like I'm being forced to watch on TERRORISM now. Please turn it off. Please turn it off. It was weird, seriously. But I think in a way I like it though. Afterwards. Yeah, I think I like it more now than when I'm watching it, because it's like, well, okay, it's super long, but in a sense, right, that they're so long, and it was weird. She's trying to like seduce him, and she's like showing his ass, she's showing her ass to him all the time and so on. And she's like, let me touch you how to swim and so on. It also made you feel that she was really evil, right? That she's like manipulating him all the time, like Makima, oh yeah, you wanna touch my tits, you know, yeah, you wanna. So it started feeling, yeah, it went from like, haha, cute joke, right, into romance, into like, okay, now it's kind of awkward, yeah. So I think that's the feeling too. Because it feels like you're watching like a weird assault scene, right? That's how most of the scene feels to me. I think so, leave a comment below, guys, but I genuinely felt sorry for Denji, right? Like I said, this scene was so long that I felt that in the beginning it was just kind of cute, but after like 5 minutes and it kept going, it started to feel like I'm watching, you know, an R scene, right? I mean, her, of course, R-ing Denji, because she just kept going, yeah, and she was like, oh yeah, touch my ass? You want to see how you swim? Let's touch my hands. Do you want to do this thing? Do that thing? Oh, well, let's go on a date tomorrow on the festival. You want to kiss the thing? Like, it felt like she was constantly trying to, like, harass him, you know, yeah. And it's like, whoa, this is weird, right? And then they keep being like, no, I love Makima. I love Makima. It's like, yeah, but what about me? You know, it felt really weird. It started to feel like, oh, I was watching this guy getting like assaulted by this crazy woman. I was like, whoa. But I think that's the purpose of it. I think that's the point of it. So in a sense, not actually watching it, I enjoy it, but now afterwards I enjoy it as a movie, right? So I was like, yeah, makes me really, really uncomfortable. Like, it's really uncomfortable because this just keeps going. She's obviously assaulting him, and just keeps going. And you're like, my God, please stop it. Please stop this movie. I don't want to see this thing. Yeah, it's like, please stop it, right? Poor Denji. That's half the movie, though. Jesus Christ, man. Yeah, the pool scene was very weird. And after that, then she, you know, gets him into going on a new date, right, on the festival, kisses all. And then they kiss, right, at this moment. And this is when she reveals that she's really, really evil. Now, we as the viewer already know it, though, right? Because Typhoon, which is like the parent of all monsters in Greek mythology, but also, of course, the name of, you know, like wind, right? So obviously it's like a wind demon, has sent this, I don't know, like serial killer, I guess he was supposed to be. He was like a random crazy guy, right? Trying to kill Reze. And I was thinking here, though, I think the movie, and maybe again, because of the trailers, but the movie to me felt predictable. Because not only did I predict obviously Reze was gonna kill him, right? But I also predicted everything with the beach scene that happens later. After the whole fight, I kind of predicted what Maki was gonna do. I also predicted how Denji was gonna let her go and all this stuff. So I don't know. I felt like all the twists of the story, I predicted all of them correctly, all of them. Even the ones that were in no trailers, like all the final conclusions I also predicted. So I felt a little bit like maybe it was a little too straightforward that. But I don't know. I don't think Chainsaw Man is so much about that kind of storyline, right? It is a mystery, but it's more about all the crazy shenanigans in between, right? So it didn't really bother me. But I do find it, yeah, it was predictable. Makima and the alien and everything, I was like, yeah, it's gonna happen now. It's like this, yeah. So that was predictable. And this moment here, I also predicted that, of course, this is the moment she will try to kill him, right? With a kiss. It's like poison ivy. So, but I also think that it was tropey, I suppose. If I have to be really honest here, if I did a tropey because, I mean, I have seen this exact scene in a lot of other anime and games and comic books or whatever, except Poison Ivy. I have seen this scene a lot, right? I mean, this is a very, very iconic storyline where, you know, the evil woman, right, the femme fatale, kisses the man, and obviously her poison lips, right? Or her lips are explosives or something, right? So this feels like it's a very, very, classic scenery where the woman uses her charm, right, to try to murder the guy. And yeah, I've probably seen it 50 times before, so it's kind of like, you know, it is what it is, basically, yeah. But I think overall in this storyline with Denji and Makima and so on, this feels like this is an ongoing storyline how the women abuses Denji, so I guess it fits into the general mythos of Chainsaw Man, I suppose. Now, after this moment though, is when all the Megumin stuff starts happening, right? She tries to kill Denji here, and then of course Tanjiro saves him. And Tanjiro is like, oh no, I should have known. She smells like bomb and nuke, so I should have known that, right? And then the movie just becomes like a long fight movie. And then I basically fell asleep. It was really boring. No, but then it became a visual, like boom, 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 explosions. Again, Bakugo would be pleased, right? But yeah, it was basically that. And I'll be honestly, right? If I like the video to subscribe, press the like button. But I will say that thing. I do find, at least as a reviewer, it's way less to talk about right after this thing, because it's kind of like, oh, they fought for 30 minutes and there was a lot of stuff happening. It was like explosions. No, but all jokes aside, there were some moments I really liked. So there's this moment where Denji levels up his chain powers, right? So he talks to mostly Beam then, the shark. His Beam is like, why don't you use your powers like this, right? He's like, oh yeah, that's true. She uses her bombs to like fly and these things and so on. I have to use my, you know, my chains, right, to move around. I can shoot out my chains and I can like maybe like a Spider-Man or something, right? You know, he's like, maybe I can do I think we the viewer, right, we are imagining him doing a Spider-Man thing where he's gonna, you know, like swing with his chains, and instead he just pushes chains around the shark, and it's like, yeah, you get this scene, as we see, and then you get this scene. This was great. I love this scene. Yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm using the chains correctly. Let's go, shark. Yeah, this was good. I love this scene. It was the best scene when he was. It's a conjure battle, and then he like starts riding the shark with his chain instead of opposite the shark meant that he was gonna swing like Spider-Man. I'm like, yeah, I get what you mean. And the alien is like, no, that's not what he meant at all. It's like, no, you idiot. And then yeah, the big baby monster is Typhoon, and it's a wind monster, which is, I don't know, it follows Reze, right? Reze is like the boss lady, so it is like Sora trying to kill her with the serial killer. So he kind of joins to help her, of course. And it seems to also hate Denji, right? Otherwise, Typhoon is an annoying big baby. There was a very great scene. From a fighting standpoint, the best Sakuga moment was probably though when Denji defeated the giant wind baby. Because he basically jumped in him in the shark, right? They jump into this like his tornado. And then it spin around with chainsaw, so everything just turned into like a red blood tornado. He's like around his body, and then there's like an ocean of blood. So they just have to bomb them, and then the shark can swim away with them because there's so much blood, so you can swim in all the blood to avoid attacks. That was beautiful. Yeah, they flies through the shark, right? And they have this like really cool scene. So I think that was definitely the highlight from a visual standpoint. Yeah, when the baby with this giant thing died, and that was the best part from my pure visualization. Definitely. There were of course a lot of other moments too. I think I always, as I mentioned earlier, I kind of liked when Reze was bombing like the police station or whatever you call it, or government building or whatever you want to call it, right? She goes in there and she starts like killing all the people working there. That scene was really great. She's like, it goes through a bunch of guys, right? And she just like explodes them, and does this, like I said, the head thing, and throws like things at them and explodes, and yeah, and they have some powers too. So they have some different powers they as well, right? And of course she kind of managed to get through their powers different ways. So that was overall also I felt like I used a really good. Basically, it was like 5 short fights in like a few minutes, right, with her and different opponents. So that was really great. And then we see, like Kobeni and Violence Fiend and other people try to help out. Kobeni then she just gives up. Kobeni was great though. Kobeni was like tactical retreat. No, but the game with Kobeni was that, Violence Fiend is like, oh, she's too powerful. Let's escape, right? And Kobeni's like, no, I can't move. I'm too afraid. And she's like, but the thing is that was very effective though. Because Reze like, what's wrong with you, right? He's like, please, I will join you instead. I will quit my job. I love you, demon lady, and so on. So that took like a lot of time, right? Kobeni's strategy of crying and weeping in front of her, that was like 5 minutes of her time, right? That was like an amazing decoy, yeah. Kobeni goes in and saves everyone with her amazing decoy skills. I was like, yeah, I'm very impressed, Kobeni. Yeah, that was like clearly on purpose. She is very, very good. She probably did more though than Violence Demon. Yeah, the Violence guy, I guess he saves one guy later, I suppose, but he kicked her. That didn't do much. I was like, yeah, whatever, he kicked her. But I kind of like it. He's like, oh, I kicked him with full power. He's like, yeah. You wanna fight me? He's like, no, I wanna fight you. Too powerful. He runs away. He was funny though. Yeah, that was one of the best scenes. He's like, no, you're too powerful. He just leaves instead. Retreat. It's like, nope, I don't gonna fight you. No, Shark Beam, man, he was way better. He was like, we will fight to death with my bro, with my beloved Chainsaw Man. He was a much better teammate than Gotham Violence Fiend. Left immediately. He did return it, I know, but it was a little bit weird like that. Now, what more happened in the fight that was really special? I mean, overall, I think it was great when she was moving around, right? She moves by, like, exploding her feet and so on. So that was really cool. And she loses her clothes all the time. And she can talk about it too. That was very visual. Yeah, there was a bunch of scenes. You see her ass basically just stands there like butt naked. It's just like, yeah, I'm gonna explode you. And honestly, I don't think it actually regrows her clothes all the time. Because, yeah, leave a comment below. How does Reze get her clothes back all the time? Does her power like create clothing? It's one thing she can make her hand into a bomb, right? But like the cloth thing just flying there, on her mid. How does she get that back? Yeah. Because she blows it off like 10 times, right? And she's like, in her birthday suit, like a lot of times during the fight, right? And then the next scene, she has like her bra back again, and she explodes it as a weapon, and she has like, I don't know, does her bomb powers create clothes too? I don't know. It didn't make any sense, honestly. It made zero sense. But I guess it was just like, we probably can't have the movie with her running around, in a skin suit all the time, But that's kind of what it felt. It's like, how did she get the clothes back now? There was one scene where she actually was getting dressed again between the fights, though. So it's like, I guess, but she can't do it all the time. Yeah, the questions in my mind, definitely, yeah. Nothing more happened. The bat thing, she fights him. Like I said, there's Talk Tornado. Oh yeah, the ending, of course, the ending. So, in the end, of course, this is also the big spoilers. I haven't seen any trailer or anything, right? Denji levels up, right? Denji finally gets the Pushita power up, and he gets like the chainsaw out, and they're flying around. Right? So basically, Denji managed to do what we talked about earlier, that the beam wanted to do, right? So he kind of like pulls out his body parts and fights her like a chain man, right? The chainsaw thing, which reminds me of, what's that guy called in Black Clover? It's the first antagonist of Black Clover. Oh, whatever. But yeah, point, the Shane Maddox guy in Black Clover that Asta owns, the first guy, and so forth, right? It was kind of like, like Shane Maddox. He has a bunch of chains flying around. And I would assume there's going to be a power-up that then you can use, right, in later seasons, surely. There's like a range ability. He can like, throw his hand out and pull it back and so on, right? Kusurigama, like a ninja weapon, and so forth. So, sure, why not? And it ends with him basically entangling up her, right? And this is going back to the pool scene. So this also, I think, again, by this movie, I think it's better than Demon Slayer. Because even though Demon Slayer, I think visually looks better. Like, Demon Slayer is like godlike, okay? Like hard to explain how much good it is. But this movie, again, right, is, like I mentioned earlier, a condensed storyline that actually kind of makes sense, right? So we have the pool scene of her being like, let's look at my titties and so on, right? And it's like, teach me how to swim, right? And then when Danny gets his chains out, he's like, you shouldn't have taught me how to swim! Then he chains her up and then pushes her into the water with himself, right? Then he kind of drowns himself. So that was that was beautiful. Yeah, the most dramatic scene in the movie before, right? And it's really, really made the whole Chainsaw Man movie come all together. And Pushita was very pleased with it. Was how, again then, right? Denji is taught to swim by Reze in this really weird bat scene, like in the pool scene for like 10 minutes, right? But he comes back, right? Because he's like, you should have taught me how to swim! And he puts her into the water, and he can't fight her. Instead, he kind of just ties them both up, and they both like drown, they both go into the water, right? Then they both pick up on the beach later. So that was just beautiful in the movie, how it made the whole pool scene and then the final fight scene become like this whole water thing again, right? And then they kind of drown, and he thinks about MAKIMA's ass or whatever, and thinks about Reze's body, and it's like, oh, they kind of like, fall together in like a hug, kind of romantic hug death thing, right? And they kind of like die together. But of course, Shark Guy saves them, as you expected. He's like Denji's best bro, TANJIRO! So he saves them, but they both break up kind of half confused together on the beach, touch each other and being like, you don't like, I love you, like, don't you, they kind of this Sundu thing, where it's like, you actually do like me. No, I don't. I kind of do, I guess. Yeah, they have this like weird kiss moment again, and she kisses him once again, and then she like kicks him in the nuts, and she's like, you idiot, stop trusting me, And it was like super weird, but that's it. Yeah, so this whole team come together so well. The pool scene into the fighting in the water, drowning her, and then she wakes up, kisses him again, and she punches him in the nuts, and it's like, why do you trust me for, okay? I just tried to kill you like 10 times, but you do like me! I was like, yeah, like that. It really came perfect loop there, so that was fantastic. That was really, really good. And then we get to the final bit with Makima. Now, the end of the movie, and I want to be very clear here, this is what I predicted earlier when I watched the movie, right? That Makima was going to finish off Reze, right? So as soon as Reze and then they had this like Sundari bit at the beach, where she clearly still likes him, where actually, I guess, never actually fate to like him, and she has like a kiss-kick moment, right, as I mentioned, she kind of leaves, and then she can escape, Japan or whatever, right? But then he is like, I will wait for you at the restaurant, at the cafe, right? But Makima is like, no, you won't. And I really felt this scene. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love this scene, how Makima is like, he's mine. But at the same time, it felt very predictable, honestly, because I was like, immediately when Reze was walking on the desert, or on the beach, I was like, oh, she's gonna kill her, yeah. Makima was like, right? So what happens is, and this is a very brutal scene, guys, this is probably the best scene of the movie, big spoilers, right? What happens is Reze, she escapes Japan, she can't escape, but then in the very final moment, she gets the flower, she's like, no, I have to go back to Denji, I actually do love him, right? She runs back to the cafe where she works, right, to meet Denji on a date there again, and then Makima comes and murders her, yeah, and Makima like slays her! Makima, and the agent comes in, and you just like freaking get her, man, and then you stab her to death, you're like, what? And there's like blood everywhere, and Makima's like, bitch, he's mine, right? Makima's like, Denji, that boy, he's my pet, and she's like, slashes her up, man. You're like, holy shit, yeah, you're like, wow. I didn't see it coming a mile away, though, but I love that scene. Makima is, oh, Denji could, watch moves with me, and then suddenly the rest of the bitch comes in, right? Makima's like, that's my man, and she just murders her. I was like, oh my god, that scene was crazy. It was crazy. Makima comes out as rats. The woman is rats. She comes out with like a bunch of rats in front of her, blocks her path. She's like, you're a witch. Then the alien comes like stabs her twice, and Makima is like, he just like yander her up, man. You're like, whoa. See, it was crazy. And I mean, even if I saw it coming a mile away. I saw it coming. I was like, Makima was gonna kill her, right? I saw it coming like, a mile away. Yet it was like, oh my god, this is freaking brutal, man. Makima is like, really like, that bitch. He's mine. He's mine! She's like, get away from my Denji. Get away from my Denji. It was crazy. It was genuinely crazy. It was brutal, man. And then she was commenting how the agent is a nice guy. she was commenting how the angel is like, oh yeah, you really want to see him kill this woman? Oh, you're just a nice person, yeah. She's like, but I am angel after all. That was interesting though, because the angel did like nothing in the whole movie. The angel was just, he really is useless. He's like, oh, I'm loose, I don't want to fight someone. Yeah. The angel did nothing. But the very last scene then, when they slay Reze, the angel is like throwing lances at her, like a goddamn god smiting her. He's like impaling her with like some like super fast like light lances made by humans, I guess. He seems to be able to make these weapons right by taking human deaths, right, and taking the bodies, right. He's basically throwing like dead people at her. So, but yeah, he did like nothing in the movie except also feeding Denji once, I suppose, or twice actually by the corner. So I guess he fed Denji, but otherwise he was just kind of like, oh, I'm lazy, right? And in the final moment, he's like a goddamn killing machine. He's like, yeah, that's right, I work for MAKIMA. So you're like, whoa, yeah. When MAKIMA gives him order, man, and suddenly he's like, yes, let's kill them. Let's kill it. What? He was like, I'm even Persian when MAKIMA is there. But I guess that's the point of him, that he doesn't do anything, except if MAKIMA is like, this is an order, right, to dead. It's like, okay, fine, So I guess he only follows her direct command, I guess, right? I suppose. I guess, yes, he did heal Denji, but it was more like, I guess I might have healed him while I'm there, He takes some blood, but I never drink it. It's kind of like, well, I'm next to you. A little more like that, right? But yeah, the scene was brutal. Now, I will say this thing here, though. Again, I'm Miami only, so, pretty spoilers. I guess she's alive, though. Yeah, to be fair, I guess she must be alive, right? Because even though MAKIMA and the angel like massively slays her, right? They like cuts off her body parts, and they're like brutal, man. They like slicing her up like a piñata, right? Yeah. Even though it's happening, I mean, they can survive. You know what it is, right? You feed them blood or whatever, right? And like, why would MAKIMA just like kill her? She's probably much more likely to just like imprison her, right? And torture her and get information from it. So I don't think they actually killed her. I think they probably just cut off her legs and whatever, right? And then bring her to some lab somewhere, and then experiments her. And we also learn her backstory just before it happens, right? That she's basically like a Russian experiment, that they had some children in some laboratory or whatever. And I was thinking about it earlier in the movie because she is speaking Russian, and I speak some Russian. I can read Russian correctly one. So I was thinking about that in the movie. She was strangling the killer guy. She was like singing in Russian, so I was like, what's she in Russian for? Is she supposed to be from Russia? I was thinking that, yeah, but I mean, it didn't make much sense at the time. I was like, yeah, she's singing in Russian for some reason. I guess she's a Russian kid. What I mean? It's like some kind of babushka song, right? That her grandma taught her. I don't know. It was never explained actually why she was singing that song. But like I said, she was born in Russia, right? So I guess that was like her mom, her grandma's song and whatever, so forth. But sure, it was like, I guess, foreshadowed during that scene. But it didn't mean. But in the end, though, maybe this is a manga thing or anything. It didn't mean much, though. Like, it didn't mean much that she was like some experiment from Russia. That she like, you know what I mean? Like she grew up in some laboratory. Like, it didn't mean anything. It wasn't like it had a purpose for her powers or whatever. It was just like explaining why she's like a crazy killer. Yeah, it was like, yeah, she grew up. I guess the point was in the end that she was similar to Denji because she also didn't go to school. She also had no friends while growing up. Yeah, she was similar to Denji. How she was like, tortured by some random evil people and didn't have any food, and she was starved and and so forth. She had a terrible life, and she had and so on. That was, I guess, that was the point of it, because it wasn't really like clear what it actually meant, if it had actually purpose that she was Russian. But like I said, I think that this was a way for the author to be like, she basically was perfect for Denji, because they both like these poor kids, right? They've been tortured, and now they actually found each other and they actually were in love and so forth. I guess it's like a sad thing that she kind of fit with Denji in that sense. But like I said, it didn't feel that meaningful. Now, that's kind of the movie, guys. And then we have this very last final moment, though. Now, Power has basically no screen time in the movie, but the very last scene is a Power scene. And honestly, it's probably the best scene of the whole movie. It is a funny scene. So first and foremost, do not miss out all the after ending credits. Like, seriously, half my theater left the theater before this scene. But after the credit, it's like a long scene. It's like a 1.5 minute Power scene. Basically, right, then it's waiting for Reze to arrive on the date. Just to show up And the guy ordering in the cafeteria is like, well, you know, maybe you one day will find your true love, you know. One day a woman that fits you perfectly will be your love, Denji. It's, you know, don't worry, kid. And then Power goes inside. He's like, Denji, I found you! You know? Then it's like, what? Power is my true love? You know, he's like, what? You know, he has this all this flower, right? He's gonna give to Reze. It's all sad, right? And she's like, give me the flowers! I finally found you, sweetie! And she stares at him like, Denji. And he's like, and then he's like, no, I want you. And he's to the tower. Stop it, you idiot! And it's not like, you know, fighting, like fun fighting, right? And then the movie ends. I was like, my god, that was hilarious. It was super hilarious. But also kind of like, maybe Power is his true love. Yeah, they are very similar. And all this is an amazing moment when she's been gone the whole movie, right? She's only in the first minute of the movie, this and here. That she's never in the movie again until that very last scene. She appeared in the after credit and the first end credits, right? And it's like, I'm back! You know, I love you! Yay! You know, he's like, my god! So yeah, Power freaking won this movie, man. No, but it was just hilarious because she's only basically in the opening credits, in the ending credits. But it was great, and I can't believe that so many people didn't see it. Yeah, they walked out it. Like, seriously, half the theater left. It's like, yeah, they're morons, man. But anyway, I'll end you guys with a theory about Denji's heart. Now, lastly, hope you guys subscribe, hit the like button, right, and check out my INCEL video yesterday. But before that, short theory, guys. Short theory, okay. I'm on it, right? I want to see in the anime, and of course the movie now. But they all constantly want Denji's heart. And that's what I guess, guys, because it gives you some incredible engine, right? It seems to be that Denji's heart is a chainsaw man. There's like a weaker demonic power or whatnot, right? It seems to give him an incredible healing life reg thing, right? And Reze grabs him during the fight and blasts him like 10 times, okay? So then he has like no legs left. He keeps like blasting, bam, bam, bam. And she comments like, God damn it, you started your ending before I grabbed you, right? Something with his heart being a chainsaw engine makes him basically be immortal, right? So even though Denji is like weaker, physically weak, his powers are limited, whatever, he has like a Wolverine healing power. He's Wolverine, yeah. And that's what they want, right? They somehow want to consume his heart, I guess, to get incredible healing powers. That's probably it, because it feels like Denji is like immortal, and the other demons, whatever, the devils, right? The fiends, whatever, they want to eat his heart somehow, right? Absorb his true heart, and that obviously probably gives them immortality. And he's like basically again Wolverine. I think that's it, because Reze was grabbing him and being like, oh, you started the Indian, now I can't kill you again. Goddamn, I have to blast off all your extra healing power there, right? So it's something like that. And also commented by Beam that when they were in the beach, when they both have just almost killed each other, he was like, no other normal fiend could survive that. Yeah, no devil could survive that. Like, that doesn't make any sense, Chainsaw-sama. Everyone else would have died from that. So that I think is right. Denji is some kind of immortal god powers. That should be what happened. But it's probably not the chainsaw thing, right? I guess it's just how it is, because a chainsaw has the pull thing. So it's just like that has made it hard into an engine. That's why he can heal so much, because the blood itself flows through the heart, right? And because his heart, his core power, he just has infinite like healing powers, where the other demons don't necessarily have that, right? They don't have like the blood itself. That being said, power should be really strong though, because blood seems to be what everyone can eat. But I'm just maybe just an idiot. Yeah, but I think it's it, right? You know, his heart is like his engine heart. It just makes you immortal. It has to be it. That's why everyone wants to kill him, because all the other devils want his power, right? Because if they can consume his heart, they will probably just have their own power, but also have healing power. So that's why they want that, right? They want to all turn into Wolverines. That would be my guess, guys. Anyway, guys, hope you liked the video. Subscribe. Have a great day.